Hi all, I thought it was finally time for a garden tour. So I'm gonna start out in the outside beds and then we will head into the greenhouse and I'll show you what we've got growing in there and I'll give you an update on the blowers. They're finally working. So we added a lot of beds this year. I think 9 maybe. I think there's 15 out here. So we'll just start here with some tomatoes that we planted just a couple weeks ago. So they're still small. We just had extra plants that I saved in case anything didn't take, and everything pretty much took. So this is a variety, everything from Dr. Witchy's Yellow to Sweet 100, the cherry tomatoes. It depends on who you ask in our family which is the best tomato. I think it's the Thorburns Terracotta, and Joel and the boys think it's Dr. Witchy's Yellow, which are really good. They're really fruity, but I just love the Thorburns Terracotta. Then we have, so this is a half row of potatoes and more tomatoes down there. But you know, in true Nina style, I totally bombed at growing potatoes in a few containers last year, so why not just try to plant some 20-foot rows? And here you can see I accidentally double planted. So I've got some zucchini, summer squash, and patty pan squash that I put seeds in the ground here and then proceeded to plant potatoes over it. So we'll see what happens with those. And this is a bed of weeds. Just kidding. It's a bed of leeks and onions way down at the end. Down at the end are those cipollini onions, those little gold coin onions I talked about earlier in a video. They are so sweet and so good on pizza. This is a sweet stem broccoli, so it doesn't give you a broccoli head, which I really struggle with here because our spring season is so short. This is it's like a stem broccoli, so I'll get multiple sprouts or stems of broccoli. But you can see it's doing really well right here in this soil, but for some reason over there it's really sparse. So there's one, there's one, there's one. I don't know what happened with that soil in the middle there. But more onions on the end. This is all more onions. This is a trellis of cucumbers, and you can see they're not doing very well. I'm not sure exactly why. Cucumbers, once you direct sow them, should take off, and it's been a month and they really have stopped. So a very wise farmer told me yesterday, Nina, have your soil tested. So this bed is really a carrot bed, and you can see that there's carrots sprouting, but I originally had what's called tatsoi pak choi in it, and that's what these flowers are. So when a plant bolts, it sends up flowers, and this is what the tatsoi pak choi looked like, and I just left them in for pollinators. But this is actually a whole carrot bed, and this was an overwintered cabbage I need to pull out. But something I'm doing a lot this summer is I'm trying to trap crop bugs. So rather than work against them, I'm trying to kind of work with the bugs. And I might have a completely wrong thought process about this, but any weeds I'm seeing in the gardens that are being eaten by bugs, especially if they're next to a plant that isn't being eaten by bugs, I'm just leaving it there. It might be taking the nutrients away a little bit from, like, say, the cucumber plant or the melon plant, but my thought is that the bugs will stress the plant anyway, so I'm just going to let the bugs eat the weeds and hopefully harvest fruit from the plant. And that is one thing I've done here. So this is amaranthus, And you can see the bugs even like the leaves. I think really what it's supposed to do is when it flowers, it'll attract the bugs, the cucumber bug or beetles and the squash beetles away from the cucumbers. But that's my goal. And really what I should have done is started those amaranthus seeds inside before I started the cucumbers so that they're further along and will flower earlier in the season. But I don't think that's what's wrong with the cucumbers right now. I think it's probably a soil issue. But hopefully when they do come up, the amaranthus are coming up and they'll help any pest pressure that we get. This is my squash bed. You can see I planted another one here. The squash are much further along than the flower is, but I've got everything in here from acorn squash to butternut squash to pie pumpkins. I think these are jack-o'-lanterns. This is another zucchini. And Gina, look, your spaghetti squashes are doing awesome. Back there I have what is not doing very well, and I think again probably a soil issue. These are some melons. I think these are, oh yeah, these are a Crenshaw cantaloupe. This is a weed. See, this is what I mean, how the bugs are liking it, but they're staying away from my seedling. But that is a bad weed. I need to get that one gone soon. And I tried celery last year and totally bombed, and that was in the greenhouse. So I tried it outside and it seems to be taking off. I think it's very slow. And this is the North American Nina's coffee mug that I grow in here very well. These are my green beans. They're not doing the greatest. I'm not really sure. It's a new variety for me, so I'm not really sure if that color is normal or if they need nitrogen. So I did add nitrogen, but I do think they should be taller than this. So I don't know if this bed, it's a new bed that we put in this year, so you'd think it would be not drained of all of its nutrients yet, but this is an exciting bed. This is my asparagus and strawberry bed. So can you see these? We've got several asparagus plants, and how asparagus works is you don't harvest it the first or second year. Maybe you can harvest a little the second year, but this now will hopefully drop seeds and sprout more asparagus for me next year. We've been harvesting lots of strawberries for the last week or two. It's hard to see, but yeah, I keep giving them to the boys and they're like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever eaten. Here's some lettuce that is now bolted. You can see it was a butter crunch lettuce, but you can see how this stalk is growing so tall. See, it's wanting to flower. And it's pretty much all doing that. And when you taste it, it tastes very bitter. So that's done. It'll go to the chickens or in the compost pile. And this is something new. This is garlic. This will be ready, I'm thinking, here in the next week or two. You can see I've already harvested the garlic scape, which is the flower of the garlic plant. And I really was conflicted over, I had about 50 garlic scapes and I thought, well, do I bring them to the market? It's another thing I can add because I didn't have a ton to bring since my lettuce bolted. I thought, well, I could bring the garlic scapes and make like $12. Or I could just make the garlic scape pesto that I wanted because I want to put it on pizza. Well, I kept them. And this kind of sad looking bed, these were overwintered kohlrabi, and then when they came up, they just flowered right away. So I left them for the pollinators. And it's hard to see, but there's lots of pollinators around this bed. And it's had kind of a hodgepodge it started with the pak choi, and I harvested that, and the flea beetles had just a heyday with it. But now I have kohlrabi in it, and you can see the grasshoppers are kind of getting at it, and the darn flea beetles are still in there. But I think we might be winning the battle because they are growing. I also did a crazy thing, and you see these red stems here. When I thinned my beets inside the greenhouse, you know, these were some considerable seedlings. I just tried planting them out here to see if they would take again and grow. It's been really dry, so it's been a struggle, but I think I might get something. We'll see. You know, gardening is nothing if you're not learning, right? And so we're gonna go give him to the chickens. Hi ladies, you want a little bug treat? So the chickens are doing well. They like their new coop. They've been on this spot for almost a week now, so they've almost depleted it. And we're gonna move them back there this weekend, so in just a couple days. Bye ladies. And I know I've had people ask me, Nina, why don't you just put the chickens in the garden and they'll eat all the bugs? Well, it'd be great if they were that picky. They would just eat everything in here. I was using this shade cloth, and I had it over these lettuce beds just to prolong them a little bit, keep them cool for a little bit longer, and it did work. This is kind of empty because I took that pak choi out. A little more kohlrabi. So that's it for the outside beds. Now we will head into the greenhouse, but before I do, I wanted to show you one thing that we've added to the greenhouse. This is a 30% shade cloth, and it is a game changer. I would think for any greenhouse it would be a game changer. Ours is a greenhouse in the snow, as you know, so it's dug 4 feet down in the ground, and we've got geothermal tubes that run around it to keep it warm in the winter and cool in the summer. But this shade cloth has been able to keep the temperature down below 100. The goal is to keep it about 85 degrees, but we're still working on making it a totally closed system. And so I'll go inside and talk a little bit about what's growing in there, and then I'll show you how the blowers are working. So this fan is still outside right now. We do need to get it installed into this wall so it's blowing air that way. But so this is the north bed, and it has, so we have 3-inch, I believe, insulation on this wall, and it's holding up well. In this north bed, I have all my peppers, everything from shishito peppers, which we've been harvesting. I've got habanadas, I've got jalapenos, we've got bell peppers. We overwintered Owen's Carolina Reaper and brought it out here, and I didn't like it too much, but it's coming back now, so I'm hoping we see one. This guy loves it in here because we have so many fungus gnats. It's been a little wet in here. This one is the Tangelo. Yeah, this is the Tangelo tree. It's a small orange. We don't have any fruit on it, but it's looking good. This is the Bear's Lime. Also no fruit, but new growth. This is the Valencia orange, and I'm trying to do a better job this year of watering from the top of the tree. You see how they get kind of dusty looking? That's what the spider mites like, but this one doesn't have any spider mites. I did just fertilize all of the trees, give them a little boost with just some fruit tree fertilizer. This is the Meyer lemon. We've got lots of flowers that I just come in and try to hand pollinate a little bit. We've got a couple of lemons down here. That one and that one. In the past, they've fallen off before they get to this size, so I don't know, maybe we'll get something this time. We've been harvesting cucumbers. So these little snacker cucumbers that you get in the store, they're delicious right off of the vine. And as you know, we are dealing with spider mites in here, so I'm trying to, you see this webbing and see the little dots in the webbing? Those are the spider mites. And they are the toughest, nastiest little buggers. And I spray it every few days, and also I'm using the stream setting on my hose, and I knock them off. So this is another peach tree, also has the spider mites a little bit, but they're just not looking real healthy. I might just get rid of the peach trees, take them out and start over. I've got some beets back here. One thing I am learning about this north bed, so these are red ace beets, and these are the Chiaga beets. I don't think I have much in there right now. One thing I am learning about that north bed is you really only get sunlight right up against close to the retaining wall. So anything I put any further back in there, it's too shaded. So things that, you know, like a little shade you could put back there, but really the beets in the front row are the ones that are producing, not so much in the back. This is a Eureka lemon, and I don't see any fruit on this one either, but it does have lots of new growth. This is our fig tree. I'm really hoping we get figs, but I don't know where they grow from. Is this like in the armpit here? Is that going to be a fig? I don't know. So if somebody knows that, let me know. And I'm sorry about the noise, but I'm so excited to tell you that the blower is working. So that blower is pulling air, hot air from the greenhouse and pushing it down into tubes. And that's very important to know that it is pushing air. I'm gonna come over here on the other end where it's not so loud, but so that blower is pushing air down into the tubes. The tubes go down about 8 feet. They go all the way around the greenhouse, and then they come into here. So that air that it's pushing is coming up and out of here. And it is a very light breeze. And part of the reason for that is because we don't have it completely enclosed yet. You can see, I mean, obviously, I've got this door open. The windows are open down there. But when we get it completely enclosed, those tubes will circulate 50-degree air. So in the winter, it'll warm it, and in the summer, it'll cool it. So in the south bed here, I've got some parsley, some thyme back there, and this is some chocolate mint. I've got a little bit of leftover green onions. And then we have all of our tomatoes. So I found some more space in here, so I added some of these tomatoes a little later. These are the green beans that are starting to flower now. So we should have green beans in a week or two. Here's some paste tomatoes that I started a little later, but I'm not too worried about that because our season is so long in the greenhouse, it'll be fine. I had a hard time finding the Sun Gold cherry tomatoes, so they got a little bit of a late start, but being a cherry tomato, you know, they'll produce pretty quickly. So we've got everything here from Barry's Crazy Cherry Tomatoes to Bonnie's Best to Aunt Ruby's Green to Dr. Witchy's Yellow to Thorburn's Terracotta. This was the first one to produce. And this is an early girl variety. If you grow tomatoes, you know they will test your patience, because they can be like that for weeks. And you're just like, when on earth are they going to turn red? But it should be in the next month. So a few more tomatoes. I've got a few more beets over here. The beets on the south side, because they are getting more sunlight, are doing a little better. I've got carrots, really weedy carrots in the back there. And this is something kind of cool. I had Monte Carlo romaine lettuce here, and this is where I cut. I go to the bottom and I cut it off, and this is what grows back. Now this is not edible because it's bolted and it's very bitter. But you can see these were some whole plants that I hadn't harvested yet, and they've bolted. And I just didn't know what bolted lettuce looked like, and I wanted to see what the flowers looked like. So I left a few of them in. And we still have some Swiss chard down here. I had some spinach in the back there, and that is bolted and done. I'm sweating my butt off in here, but just a quick note about these tubes here, and then I'll head up to the cold room so I can explain what the blower is supposed to be doing up there. These tubes don't have a blower, but they go down 8 feet and out of the greenhouse about 80 feet, and they're just kind of a fresh air intake. Oh, and this was a key lime tree that didn't handle the winter very well. You can see it kind of died off, but it has some new growth, so we'll see what happens. So walking out of the main part of the greenhouse into what we're calling the cold room, there's another blower up here, and that will actually suck air from the outside. Whereas the other one was pushing air through the tubes, this one is sucking air from outside into the greenhouse, and it acts like an airlock in here. It's a little cooler in here, but this blower makes this room kind of take the brunt of the heat and the cold. So when we open that outside door in the winter and it's 30 below, we don't shock all the plants that are growing in here. This air then gets warmed by the air that's pulled in through the tubes from outside. It's a little cooler out here now. So we had a lot of goals for the summer. In May, our goal was to get the mobile coop done and to get the fencing done, and we just barely squeaked it in. We will have to spend a little time finishing the gates this summer, but so far it seems to be working, knock on wood. And as for the rest of the summer, we have a goal to add drain tile in the greenhouse. We do have a little bit of a water issue on the floor, but Joel has kind of solved that by digging a hole in the floor, so it's essentially like a sub pump would work. We just pump it out if it fills up, and the water is really just coming from when I'm watering the trees. I was just trying to water at the base of the tree, but the spider mites love that. The leaves are so dry, so now I'm also watering from the top of the tree, and that does really seem to be helping keep the spider mites knocked back. And then the rest of the summer, our goals are to make a winter coop for the birds, something that they will just stay in for the winter, because obviously there won't be any grass up here in northern Minnesota, so we won't be moving them around. They'll just be living in a static coop. So we need to build that, and that'll go on the other side of the greenhouse, the far end of the greenhouse. So the drain tile, the coop, we'll keep working on the siding, and I think that's it. That's probably enough. And just try to harvest everything and keep going to the farmer's market. We can't believe it's already the end of June. It feels like it's going so fast. But then we have packed so much into it too. You know, we're not just, I mean, we work every day on it, on something, but we are fitting in some fun too. Like, we've already gone camping. We have done lots of boating and tubing, fishing.
It's pretty good.
I saw it jump.
I How are we gonna get this in? We don't have no net.
I don't know.
Shit.
What pound test do you have on there? Still out there a little ways.
Wow, pretty cool to get a fish trolling. I think I snagged it maybe. Snagged a bass.
Nice. We had a couple of celebrations this summer already. Owen turned 12 and Joel and I celebrated our 28th wedding anniversary in May. And we celebrated that by going to see private rebar in action at the family day. Eric is in the National Guard and they had a family day and we went. Kyle even showed up. I took time out of his busy schedule working 2 jobs to come and have lunch, not very good lunch, with us at the family day for Eric. And that was really nice. They even put us in formation and taught us how to about face, and that was kind of fun. We've had our first farmers markets of the season. We added a second one this year. So on Thursdays, we are in Virginia from 2:30 to 6. And on Mondays, we are in Cotton at the community center from 1 to 3. And that one is brand new. They've never had a farmers market there. So don't expect too much when you come. But I will say, between the few farmers of us that are there coming regularly, we have everything from produce to eggs to meat to plants to, and if you've never had Betsy's cookies from Nelson's Hollow, oh my God, that is definitely her talent. And can I just encourage anyone who is thinking about joining a farmer's market, you don't have to have 80-foot beds, you know, and have an acre of garden space to join a farmer's market. What I keep hearing over and over, and what really keeps me going back, is you come to market with what you've got. And sometimes it's just, I had 8 dozen eggs, I had 5 bunches of beets, and some trays of onion plants. Or sometimes I will have lots of lettuce and lots of carrots and lots of tomatoes. But you come with what you have, and the groups or the people that you meet there, the other farmers and the customers too. I learned so much even from my customers. Because there are some women who are like, yeah, I don't plant that, I don't garden that anymore, or I don't grow that anymore because all the flea beetles get it all the time, so I just come here and buy it from you farmers who but this is a trick I learned. So you learn so much from the farmers there, you learn so much from the customers, and if you are at all passionate about local food like we are here, it is the place to be and kind of feel that support. So I can't encourage you enough to, even if you just have something that you would just go and sell, you know, zucchini when you have it, just to do that, because you will learn so much about gardening and create such a community of those like-minded people that they'll appreciate having you there and you'll appreciate being there. So having said all that, I just wanted to thank you guys all for watching. It really means a lot to us, all of your support. If you like this video, please like it. And if you're new here, we hope you will subscribe. We are pretty close to 500 subscribers, so we are making that yet another goal for summer, is to hit 500 subscribers. And one way that we can do that is if you share our videos, share it on Facebook or wherever, that might if you have friends that are interested in homesteading or gardening or greenhouses, chickens, they might like to see our content as well. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.